Oh well, guess that's not canon anymore.
Getting this really weird vibe off your house.
Fine.
Unrelentingly evil.
I think I'm seeing dead people.
Ghosts don't exist.
Of course not.
The writing, it's Shelley's. One death and history will change in a blink.
Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I enjoy. I, of course, very much enjoy Doctor Who, and that's why I do weekly reviews here on this channel. So, if you're new here, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, do all that sort of jazz, because if you like Doctor Who, I've got lots of content for you. Today we're reviewing the 8th episode of Series 12 of Doctor Who, The Haunting of Villa Diodati. Diodati? Diodati. I don't remember, I've kind of scribbled it down quite roughly. It's a villa. Well, let me get this out of the way early on. I'm a big fan of the 8th Doctor on Big Finish, and you might have heard some things, even if you're not a big fan recently, about this episode being quite what's the word? Controversial, that's it, for Big Finish fans, because the 8th Doctor, at one very short period, over the space of 4 releases, had Mary Shelley as a companion, and in fact has a story with the Cybermen in it, which implies that the Cybermen inspired Mary Shelley. In the story In a Company of Friends, which is where the Doctor meets her, that's basically set on the same weekend as this story is set. So let's get this out of the way early. I wish they hadn't done that, admittedly. But I'm sure I can work out some kind of headcanon way that it all fits in. I kind of wish that they'd included something a bit more in the story. I kind of thought earlier on in the season, when the Doctor was doing those mind wipes to people, that they were kind of gonna put a little hint in here to maybe mind wipe them at the end, so that we can set up that, oh, okay, and the next night, in our heads, we can justify that the 8th Doctor turns up, and they won't go, hold on, we met a Doctor last night, someone that called themselves the Doctor last night. They didn't do that. Fine. I'm going to have to get over it. Because, other than that, this was a fantastic story. And look, I'm not going to hold this against them. Yes, of course, I would wish that they don't contradict so blatantly in such a big way. This is probably the biggest Big Finish contradiction we've got. I wish they wouldn't do that, but I also understand that the nature of storytelling is that they need to tell the best stories they can. And this story gives us so much, both in the overall story arc and also as an individual story as well. It's a really great story, and it's done really well. So that out of the way, why did I like this story so much? I'm not actually that much of a horror fan. I enjoy some horror movies. Cabin in the Woods is a great one. And I've enjoyed reading some horror books. Frankenstein is indeed one of them that I really do enjoy. It's a great novel. But it's not a genre that I am, particularly passionate about. But when it's done well, it can be really good. And throughout all of this episode, I was on the edge of my seat as the tension ramped up, and they employed lots of tropes, especially in the first half, of the classical horror genre, the sort of the era that they were in. You had your house getting all rearranged, you had your apparitions appearing, and the ghosts, and you had the jump scares, and things coming to life, and all of that, and there's lots of tropes that are used again and again, but they used them really well here. And the pace of it was so that I think early on they didn't launch into it too quickly. They kind of built it up on a gradual level, the horror. And I felt myself, generally, my heart was sort of getting, the palpitations of my heart were getting quicker as the episode progressed and as they built this up. It was also filmed really well, the way they choreographed the scenes, added to the atmosphere, added to the tension. It was all really good. The one downside I would say about the filming, though, the one thing I have on the negative is sometimes it was a little too dark. And I get why they wanted darkness, goes in with the horror theme and all that, but sometimes I was really struggling to see what was on screen in some bits. And that's a little bit of a criticism of the whole series, actually. Series 12 seems to have been very darkly lit, or maybe darkly colour graded in post-production, and sometimes it's been a bit difficult to see things. or it's looked murky and not particularly very vibrant. And that is a criticism I had this episode as well. And there were some points where I think had they just lit it slightly differently, it would have been even more scary, because we missed some things. Well, I missed some things that I think had I noticed that in the corner of my eye, I would have been more scared. Wasn't all horror though. There were some nice bits of levity early on, especially. I like the fact that they use these little moments of humour to sort of palate cleansers between the ramping up of the tension and the horror to early on, and that helped sort of pace out the horror building, because by the time we got to the sort of last third, they'd stopped with that so much and we were really on edge. But at the beginning you got a couple of, something creepy's going on, but then a bit of humour to break it up, and that was quite nice. Graham, always good for a laugh, always good for a witty line and a bit of banter. And then I loved the bit with Ryan getting challenged to a duel. That scene was hilarious. Loved it. We got really good, strong performances, I think, from all of our main cast. None of the companions had a focus particularly in this episode, but we got something from each of them that I think was really strong. We got some lovely stuff between Yaz and some of the supporting cast. Like I said, that scene with Ryan getting challenged to a duel was brilliant and brilliantly played by Tosin Cole there as well. And Bradley's always funny. It was good stuff there. So yeah, really good stuff from all of the main companions. The supporting cast was fairly strong as well, I'd say. We didn't get to see that much from anyone other than Byron or Mary. They were there, and I've forgotten the character's name now, but the other woman that was there, I liked her bit at the end where she confronts Byron and goes, "No, your spell on me is gone now because of the way you treated me and the way you were flirting with the doctor." And Byron flirting with the doctor, that was hilarious as well. Another little bit of comedy moments in there which were quite nice to see, and just the way she just sort of dismissed him and rebrute whatever word I'm trying to say there, his advances was that was all very good stuff too, and very amusing. Byron was, I haven't got the actor's name, but captivating to watch. Watching him sort of saunter about the place, his arrogance, he was compelling to watch. I really enjoyed it. I like the fact that they made an effort with the costumes as well. There was the line at the end of the last episode to all go off and find something period to wear, because they were leading into this adventure, and they have found it. And even the doctor has adapted her wardrobe slightly. Yes, she's still got her coat, but she's wearing this waist jacket. It's quite nice. So all well played to the costume department there. All fits in lovely, and it's nice to see them in slightly different garb. Then let's get to the Cyberman, the lone Cyberman. We had the warning a few episodes ago from Jack, don't give the lone Cyberman what it wants, and if we finally get to see what that is. This was, I think, played really well, came in at the right moment, the reveal came at the right moment that it was a Cyberman. Up until that point let's face it, if you're paying attention on social media, you kind of knew it was going to be a Cyberman anyway. It wasn't that much of a shock. But I think it came at the right moment for it worked narratively at the moment it came. And if you didn't know it was the Cyberman going in, if you didn't know the Cybermen were going to be in this episode going in, then I think it probably paid off as a nice surprise at that moment. I mean, let me know in the comments below if you happened to avoid all of the rumours that the Cybermen were going to be in the episode. How did that reveal come off to you? Because I think it was probably really well placed. And what I liked about this was it wasn't a Cybermen like we'd seen a Cyberman before. This was sort of like the episode that Dalek was for the Daleks. This felt like that for the Cybermen. We got one single lone Cyberman, and showing how dangerous one could be, even when damaged and even when injured and not working at full capacity. It felt like it was that levels of significance. And we also got to see a type of Cyberman that we haven't seen before, really. One which hasn't had its emotional inhibitor activated. So we got a feeling of a real persona, an individual underneath the mask, of which I think that was helped by the fact that you could see part of his face through the broken mask as well. You got to feel like it was a real person, and that led in quite nicely to the sort of moment where Mary Shelley tries to connect with him on an emotional level while talking about her baby. That was really lovely, and actually it led us into thinking that, okay, maybe we're going to get a kind of emotional connection here. So when he actually then turned around and went, I know I slit my own kids' throats, that was actually, I was taken aback by that, and it was a really nice little twist to what was going on in that scene. Talking of that scene, we got an absolutely marvellous performance from Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor in that scene. I don't want to call it a speech, because it didn't feel like a speech. It was a conversation between her and the companions, but it was her really letting them know about how she feels and the weight she feels on her having to make the decisions she has to make. She makes decisions that affect who lives and who dies, and she offers it out to them. You make this decision, and none of them want to do it. And she refers to it being this, sometimes this isn't a flat team structure. Sometimes I'm at the top, on the top of a mountain looking down at you, and I have to make the decisions that are going to cause people to die. And it was a really powerful, and you could generally see the sort of pain on Jodie's face as she was delivering that, and how that must affect the Doctor. Really felt for her in that moment. Great acting. On the flip side of that, though, we did also get earlier on the 13th Doctor delivering exposition, just kind of spewing it out like she does a lot, and that's partly down to the writing. I think it seems to be a problem with this era of the show that they don't do exposition particularly well, and there was a little bit of that earlier on in the episode. Thankfully, I only noticed it really in one scene, but it was there, so I've got to mention it. So overall, yeah, I give this a pass for doing what it did to the continuity of this one. I will find some way to headcanon it so that they can both exist. I will work on that in the next coming days, I'm sure. I need to re-listen to this. I haven't listened to it in a few years, so I need to re-listen to that, and we'll see what it is. If it's in the Big Finish sale, I suggest picking it up, because it's very good. Company of Friends is the first one that introduces the 8th Doctor to Mary Shelley in a very timey-wimey way. And then the Silver Turk is the one that also has a lot of significance on this story as well. So check those out if they're in the Big Finish sale that they have at the end of every episode. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you think this was worth it to contradict these stories if you're a fan of these stories? Because as much as I would like them not to have done it, or to put in a line here and there that can give us something to hold on to, it was still a really good story, so probably worth it in the end. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you next week for another review. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell button and all that stuff, and I will see you next time. Bye.